Hello and happy Media Monday. I'm El Michelle and I'm just excited to be here. Glad you're here with me as we just continue our talk. Media Mondays is, of course, a live podcast and it's just all about interviewing the media leaders who are behind some of the things we see, behind some of the articles that we've read. And as you know, this month or this time, let me not date it, I guess I already did. During this time, I'm very interested in talking about the future. We've talked with future leaders, talked about future in church, talked about just the future in storytelling. And now I just kind of want to talk about the future of work. And one gentleman who just, in my point of view, was just crushing the whole game when it comes to talking about the future and just having, I wouldn't even say having all these things that are thought provoking. They are, but it's so much deeper than that. It's like very real what he's speaking. And the more you kind of dive in, the more you just get in and realize how much things are changing and how bright the future really looks. So I have Charlie Fink here live with me today to talk a little bit about the future of work. I'm not like an expert at doing intros, but I do the best I can. Charlie, you can tell us more.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and so when I reached out to you, I pretty much bought every book you have. Like I bought one and then I was like, I'm buying them all at one time. So I have kind of like the physical books and then an ebook. And so I talked to you and I reached out, I said, we should talk about the future of work. Then I reached out again. I'm like, we should talk about the future of AR storytelling. You're like, no, the future of work is really what we need to be focused on. So Charlie, tell us a little bit about yourself and your latest, well, it won't, maybe it's not like a latest passion, but you know, your idea about this topic right now.
Sure. Well, first, just for a little background, I write a popular column on Forbes about XR, which means augmented reality, virtual reality, wearables, hearables, implantables, and really just about anything, including the smartphone here that augments me or transports me.
Wow.
So, right? I mean, this augments my reality. My glasses are augmented reality.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's think a little broadly about these things. Augmented reality is a tool, and our tools, cars, airplanes, computers, they help us do the things humans do better, faster, more efficiently, and less expensively. So, I mean, there's a practical reason we're all looking at screens every day. Before starting to write about AR and VR, I was an executive. And among other things, I was chief operating officer of a location-based VR company in the mid-90s that was owned by Disney and some mall owners. And we were trying to do theme park in a box. So they were networked flight simulators, and out the screen of your vehicle, it was called cab-based simulation, you would see the other people piloting their vehicles, and you could interact, you could fight, you could race, you could do all the video game-ish stuff that you couldn't do at home because it was more advanced technology. Of course, all of that is different today. It gave me a ground. I went from there to America Online, a digital media executive. I started a company that I sold to American Greetings. I ran AmericanGreetings.com. I bought Blue Mountain. I produced Broadway shows. I mean, I'm a 60-year-old man. I've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
Today, I primarily write and teach about XR at Chapman University in Southern California.
And you did some with Lion King too, right? Not to interrupt.
Yes. One of my first jobs was I was head of developing animated movies at Disney Feature Animation, and I was involved with Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and, yes, Lion King, which was based on my original idea, which was to do Bambi in Africa. And everybody wants to hear this story. I'll rattle it off for you quickly. The idea was, of course, you know how Bambi starts. The great stag is on the bluff. that overlooks the forest and the thicket in which his son is being born. Okay, at the end of the movie, the great stag again is on the bluff overlooking the forest and the thicket where Bambi's son is being born. And Bambi steps up next to the great stag, and the great stag drifts into the mist. And that's the end of the movie, right? It's the son replacing the father.
Right.
So that was the concept where Lion King started.
Wow. Wow.
And then, there a lot of writers worked on it. The most talented animators and animation writers, and Tim Rice and Elton John. I mean, the kinds of people that Disney gets to make these movies is just truly historic. So it was great to have played a small role. I've certainly coasted on it my entire career. Who knew the most consequential thing of my life would be done when I was a 27-year-old junior executive? But so it goes. It's a big encore that I've been seeking ever since. I find myself in this niche of virtual and augmented reality, and I'm happy at my age to still be relevant and to help people, achieve these incredible digital dreams, that we've had for 40 years. So when people say that I'm a futurist, really I'm a pastist. One of the things that I say is that the development of virtual reality, as you know, this is in my first book, is following the development pattern of the personal computer. And it'll take 20 years for it to penetrate 25% of American households. And I think it's just about on schedule. Just about. I'll be close within 3 years.
Wow. I got wind of virtual reality back in 2016. I don't believe in coincidences, but I was at a table by another table. He was doing VR. My husband went over there and left our table for the rest of the day. I was like, what about us? What are you doing? He's like, you got to put on this headset. And then it's kind of been on since then. So as we're in this time now, this pandemic, where really some of the things we've been preaching are happening. Like, look, be online, do this, find easier ways to do things. People are doing it now. And you have some very interesting writing just around the future of work. And, what do you think now? Like, where are we headed?
Well, I think you have to start with the frame that a pandemic, like a war, accelerates everything. So if malls were failing, they're going to fail faster, right? If technology is growing, it's going to grow a little faster. Businesses that were struggling, will fail. And narrow margin businesses, like restaurants and businesses run by small business people are going to be tremendously hurt by this, because you just go down Main Street here where I live, and people can't afford to pay their rent if they're closed during the pandemic. So I don't think we've begun to see the mortgage failures and the real estate problems that are going to stem from this. We're just at the beginning of coping with its problems. And the stock market has boomed while masses of people are unemployed. So I think this is going to play out over years, not months. And I think that when the cure is here in a year or whenever, the problems, that we have in our society have been laid bare and need to be addressed.
Yeah.
And so work is one, telemedicine. Okay. The idea that you would have a video call with your doctor, which makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the Hippocratic Oath. They need to touch you. They need to see you. They need to take your vital signs. I mean, the institutions had so many reasons that a doctor couldn't be paid for a video call that people were like, screw it. Right? But now you can't go in to see the doctor without having a video call. And they're getting paid just fine. Right? What the heck? Okay, teleeducation. Right? Until 6 months ago, teleeducation was for weirdo homeschoolers.
Yeah, right.
And I don't mean to be disparaging.
No, but you just thought they couldn't function.
Is homeschooling because the schools, he's an urban pioneer, so he doesn't have access to the kind of schools he wants to send his kids to. So I don't want to brand every homeschooler with the same brush. I'm just saying that's the cliched view. But all of a sudden now, teleeducation is probably the most important thing that needs to be addressed in our society.
Right.
because you have kids who are going to miss a whole year of learning.
Yeah.
And I do not think that Zoom is the answer. I mean, I think Zoom is a solution. That's the technology we have today. And for some people, it's even a stretch. Technology has to meet people where they are, right? It has to take what you're already doing, like making phone calls, and make them better.
Right. Right.
So,
right.
We're not going to change people's behavior overnight. But if Apple came out with a pair of glasses that was better, I see you're wearing Snap specs.
Yes.
Very fashionable.
Yes.
And, so if they came out with a better prescription glasses for me, maybe it, helps me with my night vision or has some kind of notifications, I would do it, but it's something I'm already doing. So that's the way it has to, reach into our life. We have to be doing it at work the way we did email at work first. Right.
So
and then we did it at home.
So what do you think? Because I would say geographically in my area, so I'm in northern Florida. So I'm Florida, but it's not like South Florida, it's closer to Georgia and things like that. A lot of the mindset, in my point of view, having more of a hybrid type work style way of doing work. I mean, for me, we've been online as a company almost since we started. We never were.
Right, me too. The pandemic didn't affect me, except that my students had to learn online.
Right.
Although I'll tell you a funny anecdote, not to digress too much, but I had a student said to me, Professor Fink, I think I'm going to take this semester off because of online learning. And I said, I agree with you. It's not as good. On the other hand, this is the way you're going to live, right?
Wow.
Most knowledge workers are going to do 30 to 60% of their work remotely.
Yeah.
So if you can't learn remotely, you are in a world of hurt, because that is the way most jobs are going to train you.
Wow.
That is the way most jobs are going to have you work. So she actually decided to stay in school. One observation I have, and this young lady is certainly falls into this category. Excellent students are excellent anywhere.
Gotcha.
Right? It's those kids in the middle, and disengaged kids are disengaging for reasons the teachers can't control. But there are all these kids in the middle, and it's difficult for them to be engaged in real life, because they have attention issues or other issues. So, missing out on building more of a personal rapport with them is more difficult. And you try and make up for it with phone calls and stuff. But it's, we don't have technology that replaces real life yet. And young people, a big part of school is socialization, right?
Yes, it is.
Learn to meet people and learn to like people and learn how to learn with them so that you can be a contributing member of society and, earn a living and fulfill your other dreams.
Right.
So, but the reality of work in the future, 15% of work was remote prior to the pandemic. Now, most experts don't expect the office to disappear. I think we're seeing that the office will be more infrequent. I think, for example, you might have an employee, let's say he's an engineer, or it could be a manager or product manager, and he lives 4 hours from work. Right? He paid $250,000 for a 5,000 square foot house. He's close to relatives, and there are great schools there. And once a week, he drives in. Maybe he stays overnight in a cheap hotel, and that's his work week.
Gotcha.
So I think that is more likely than the disappearance of the office. But there are some companies like eXp Realty, which is a publicly traded company worth over $1 billion with 27,000 employees all over the world, that is entirely virtual.
Wow.
They meet together once a year at a giant convention that is in person. Otherwise, they have no office.
Wow. So for me, I just getting back to, because you've said so much. So getting back to education, I know when I first just started introducing schools, colleges to VR, I was like, introducing the new classroom, because in my mind, I
Mhm.
was like, I don't know why you would have, this is pre-pandemic. Why would you have to go in a classroom when you could just put one on? But then,
Well,
as
yeah,
I wore them for longer periods of time, I was like, well, I don't know if I'd want to wear, at the
not there.
way they're constructed now. Now, if these were the new VR glasses, some
Yeah,
kind of way, or, everything was all around, I'd be good.
yeah.
But I just wonder after, things settle down, like to me, I just can't imagine in my mind now not doing shows like this the way we're doing it and things like that. Like I just don't see me saying, all right, well, thanks for that was a good ride,
Yeah. Well, things will be different, but people are resilient. Things were different after 9/11, but it wasn't like we were living on a different planet. We just slowly got back to the new normal and got used to the new normal of, living in more of a uh, police state or military state.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think that's a good thing. It's a separate conversation. But things changed after 9/11. They will change after the pandemic. But we will also go back to many, but not all, old things that we did. But those small businesses that closed, other small businesses will arrive,
Right.
or people will rent those spaces and live in them rather than them remaining retail spaces.
Got you.
Right? They will change. And I
Right.
think, as you said about VR, it's not really where you could wear VR all day.
Right.
The technology is not there, but you could see a substantial amount of learning happening in VR.
Yeah.
And VR is a much more effective way of getting people to concentrate. We talked about the students in the middle. When you're in VR, there's no place to hide, and your recall is much better. So
Yeah.
VR should be able to benefit and democratize education quite a bit. So I'm very excited about the opportunity there because education has, been asking for disruption for decades.
Yes.
And because institutional change is so hard.
It
I mean,
is.
they've been educating people the same way for 400 years. So it's going to be very hard for them. Well, I should say they will adapt like the rest of us. It'll just be in the slow way of the educational industry. But those kids today who are being exposed to and using this technology and understand what it can do will someday be the ones in charge.
What I thought was also interesting about your book on the future of work and
Mhm.
remote
Yes.
work, virtual conferences,
Yeah.
was that you really kind of stressed too, though, we have to still find ways to be more engaging. Like we can't just,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
kind of do more of the same. We gotta find a way. So
Right.
can you speak to that a little
Well, sure.
bit?
Well, Zoom, as I said, Zoom is the new way right now.
Hmm.
I don't think it's the optimum way. I have seen better ways to do it, but I don't think those ways are practical yet. Right? I mean,
Gotcha.
this has been great for VR because now everybody knows it's not just a game machine, but it provides presence when physical presence is impossible.
Hmm.
People didn't think that was very valuable a year ago. Of course,
Right.
now there's a scarcity of presence.
Right.
so
Right. Right.
so its value is immediate and apparent, and that's really when things start to change for a technology or any new concept for consumers. It's like, oh, of course there is that,
Mhm.
right? Oh, of
Right.
course there is. It's
Right.
not. So I think VR is getting to be that. The products aren't out there yet. Um, they're not being used enough yet in work and education so that people become accustomed to them the way we became accustomed to computers. But it is
Mhm.
happening. I think that is going to be the coming decade may be defined by that. Uh,
Wow.
if yeah. So I mean, it's really a great moment to be in technology. It really is. And anybody who's listening to this show who's interested in a business career, the growth of tech companies like Amazon and other companies doing e-commerce, just to take one small example. But obviously, there is medicine, teleeducation.
Right.
These are all technology-based opportunities and are sure to grow.
Yeah.
If you know how to use a real-time game engine like Unity or Unreal Engine,
Mm-hmm.
you will always have a job. And you don't
Wow.
even have to be good at math. So, the skills are out there. You can learn them online. So again, there are many pieces in place that you can take advantage of, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're free Unity courses. There are great ones on Coursera and Udemy that are, like $100 and give you a certificate, and you have to learn how to learn that way. That's how
Wow.
you help yourself today. So,
Yeah.
Google gives us access to, the best professors. I mean, the internet gives us access to, the best professors in the world if you want them,
Ah,
because, I mean, let's face it, people are kind of lazy and they like Netflix.
right.
But people who
Right.
are successful in this new world will use, its tools to their advantage.
Right. Use the tools. So we have a few minutes left. Gosh, I don't know what I want to ask. I want to say like, um, so we are in a new decade, and you've spoken a lot about that. I'm in the smart glasses, so
Yeah,
I'll be following that
yeah.
evolution over this decade
Come
by
on,
way of
Apple.
storytelling.
I'm waiting. I'm excited about the Nreal glasses. It's an Android product. It's coming out in the fall.
Right.
Very, very promising, interesting company. Sort of what Magic Leap maybe should have been. The glasses are $500.
Are
So
they
we'll
the
see.
ones? Did Google? Are they with Google now, or is
No,
that something else?
no,
Oh, I
that's a company called North.
got it. Okay, yeah, that's
Formerly
right.
Atomic Labs. Their approach was to project an image onto your glasses that has the weather or some other.
Yeah, I was a Google Glass Explorer back in the
Yeah.
day and
Oh
made
wow.
my first documentary in this
Wow.
way with
Wow.
them. So I'm into that kind of immersion, but I'm just interested to see where it all ends up.
Yeah.
Right
Me
now,
too.
I'm the cool lady in my city who has
Yeah.
these,
Yeah.
but I
It's
bet
cool.
10 years from now, everybody will.
Yeah. Well, I often have an opportunity to remark that I do think this is the great business story of our time. How we go from smartphones to smart glasses.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's a word for the decade
Yeah,
right
and
there.
Michelle, you're already there wearing your Snap specs.
Right, right. So be looking out for then in real. I'll have to make sure I saw it in the publication, but I'll
The main
definitely.
event, the main event is Apple glasses, and that's probably 2 years from now. But
Mhm.
I think there's going to be some game-changing technology. I talked a little bit about changing the glasses that you wear every day. And add, and because they can read your retina, they can understand what you're doing and what the light is doing to you, and correct your vision even more precisely than, again, optics, which are 500 years old.
Oh,
So something very ripe for disruption. It's a $200 billion a year business. Because half the people in the world wear glasses. So
yeah.
anyway, exciting times. Thank you for inviting me on your show, Michelle.
Oh, I appreciate it. Everybody, Charlie Fink will make sure that we put all of his contact information,
Thank
of
you.
course, in our YouTube. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.